Some big results at the weekend have really shaken up things with only 2 rounds left to go in the regular season. My name is Mark. Let's talk rugby. This has been easily the most competitive URC season that we've had since this competition, has come into effect or into being with the addition of the South African teams, and the round 16 just really underscored that as well. Some amazing results and some brilliant performances as well. So what we're going to do today is we are actually just going to look at the results. We're not going to talk too much. I always say we're not going to talk too much about the actual games, and then I go and talk for 40 minutes about them. But this week we're not going to, because I only got to see 2 games, and I was traveling most. I was away for most of last week, and then I was traveling on Saturday as well, so I only got to see the 2 games that I covered. But yeah, we'll talk about very briefly what happened in each of the games, so it is going to actually be brief for once. Right, so let's jump into it. So Friday night's game, we start with Glasgow Warriors 19, Vodacom Bulls 26. So, this was second versus third in the table, and Glasgow, they needed a win to not only keep pressure up on Leinster, but to kind of secure themselves in that position, in the top 2, to have at least, a home semi-final. But didn't really go their way. Bulls, leading for much of the game, and it was only last 5 minutes, Warriors get over, first of all, Stain and then MacLeod with, a couple of minutes left on the clock to actually get a losing bonus point. So, even though it looks like there was just 1 score in it, in the end, Bulls were actually comfortable most of the way through the game, especially kind of in that third quarter where they really pulled away. But yeah, Glasgow not performing at home, and kind of a reversal really of last year's final, where they went down to the Bulls home, and they produced a big performance and big result. And this is a big result for the Bulls, and we'll see as well when we look at the table later. But yeah, final score, Glasgow Warriors 19, Vodacom Bulls 26. Okay, next one then, another big result, Cardiff Rugby 26, Munster 21. So, the Munster started out leading, then kind of we have Cardiff then coming back, yellow card for Wycherley, couple of tries for Cardiff. They're leading at half time. Or no, they were leading coming up to half time, should I say. And then Munster got over for a try to, I think, they evened things up at that stage. Into the second half, then Munster get themselves, out to a bit of a lead. I think they were leading at 9 points by about 50 minutes or so, but then they get an early yellow card, give away a penalty try at the same time, and then during the yellow card period, Mulder goes over for Cardiff, and that's converted as well by Thomas. So that was basically the winning score for Cardiff. No more scores after that. Final score, Cardiff Rugby 26, Munster 21. So brilliant performance in Cardiff. I've got their jersey on, in recognition of that as well. It's been a while as well. Cardiff, they had a brilliant start to the season, and they were kind of dropping away a little bit, kind of worried about them maybe not making the playoffs. And, lots of people were saying, oh, it's only because they're playing all the other Welsh teams, but they performed against, a Munster team who've been coming into decent form themselves, and probably at 9 points up, probably thought that they were going to win that game and, basically secure their own berth in the playoffs. But now Munster maybe going to have to scramble a little bit to get in there. But final score, Cardiff Rugby 26, Munster 21. Next then, Zebre Parma 25, Edinburgh 25. So Zebre started out well in this one, a couple of tries in the first half, despite getting a yellow card for the Ray. Then into the second half, then, Edinburgh, they had a couple of penalties in the first half to keep in touch, but then they start getting, trying to come back. But first of all, Trulla gets the third try for Zebre. And then we have a couple of tries, in a 10-minute period for Edinburgh, both from Benter. And then, Zebre, I think they're leading by a point going into the last 2 minutes or so. And then a couple of penalties from Montemaori, trying to ease away and just, get themselves a bit of a cushion. But then last minute try from Curry converted by Scott, and Edinburgh get themselves a draw. Almost another really deserved win for Zebre as well. They've had a fantastic season, and that would have been just another feather in their cap. Like in previous seasons, it would have been actually a great result for them to get a draw, but maybe a bit of an opportunity missed for them. Edinburgh keep their hopes of playoffs alive a little bit, but they would have, looking at this, certainly would have looked at it as one that they probably have to win to be in there. So we'll see how they go in the final 2 rounds. Final score: Zebre Parma 25, Edinburgh 25. Okay, next then, Emirates Lions 26, Connacht 7. So the Lions, the form hasn't been great in the second half of the season. They were right up there in the first half of the season. Second half, not so good. But in this one, back home, and really their form this year has been built on their home performances. Not so great away from home, but Duplessis gets them off and running. And then, Woolhooter with, I think it was 3 penalties altogether. And have, they're in a fairly comfortable lead, especially with Pretorius going over with 10 minutes to go. And then by the time Connacht actually get over themselves, the game is done and dusted. And then Van der Merwe puts the cherry on top of the cake with a third try as well, with the clock in the red. So, come to victory for the Lions. Connacht, probably out of the running now as well. So both these teams, I would say, out of the running really for the playoffs, unless some kind of Ospreys type miracle occurs for them. And speaking of Ospreys, actually, let's finish this one first. Emirates Lions 26, Connacht 7 was the final score. Yeah, but onto the Ospreys themselves. So Ospreys 57, Dragons 24. So Ospreys actually, they had to come from behind in this one, I think, because Dragons opened the scoring with penalty. Then they get a try as well. So I think they were 10-0 up at one point. But then, it didn't last very long. About a minute later, Ospreys got over for the first try. Then they get a second one before the break. So they're leading at half time. Then into the second half, then first 10 minutes, another couple of tries for them. So they got the bonus point in the bag. Then a bit of back and forth between the teams, over sort of a 10-minute period, both scoring 2 tries each. But towards the end, then the last 10 minutes, 3 more tries for Ospreys. So all in all, I think they got, was it 8 or 9 tries? I think it was, they got 9 tries because Morgan Williams went over with about 2 minutes to go. So 9 tries for Ospreys in that one. Brilliant win. Like, you'd expect them to beat the Dragons, but the Dragons were competitive for patches in the game. Dragons definitely going to have to improve next season. But Ospreys, they're kind of in that position where they were last year as well, where if they can kind of deny or defy the odds, should I say, and pull out another couple of wins, they could find themselves in the playoffs again. But Ospreys 57, Dragons 24 was the final score. Okay, on to the next game then. DHL Stormers 56, Benetton 5. So a lot of people, after Benetton's brilliant result last time, on the tour in South Africa, expecting them to be far more competitive than they were in this one. Stormers kind of return to form for them. They've been up and down this season, but maybe they're going to kind of get that run that will definitely secure their playoff places, certainly in a better position than a lot of teams now. But they start off with a couple of tries in the first 15 minutes. Then by half time they've got 3. Just after the break, then Benetton get their only try of the game, and then to unison, I think, got the bonus point try for Stormers. There was plenty of points from the boot of Feinberg and Gomazulu as well. That guy is just a class act. And even though Stormers actually had 2 yellow cards in the game, and I think Benton had one as well. But despite those, they got, I think, a couple of tries during the yellow card period. Yeah, but I think both teams were down to 14 when the Villiers were over. And then Feinberg and Gomazulu, he got like the full house, as it were, because he already had penalties from the first half, and conversions first half and second half. Got a drop goal in the first half as well, and then in like 2 minutes to go, he finishes off with a try as well. So basically got everything that you can score. So brilliant from him. Yeah, and he is like, South African rugby is so blessed with the number of talented 10s they have, and the fact that they can, different styles that they play as well. So that they have that ability to pick and choose. And, it's a position there as well that there's a lot of pressure, obviously, being the Springboks 10. But he seems like a guy that really could step up to the plate there as well. So we'll see how he goes now. I'm expecting to be in the knockouts, to see how it goes in the knockouts, and then afterwards as well. When we have the Rugby Championship as well, whether he's going to get a look in there or not, we'll see on that too. But yeah, final score was DHL Stormers 56, Benetton 5. Okay, on to the next game then. Scarlets 35, Leinster 22. Actually, a fairly comfortable win for Scarlets. This is one of the 2 games that I have a full review on the channel. So if you want to check that out, feel free. So, first kind of 10 minutes or so, Scarlets get a converted try and a penalty to establish a decent lead. And then they don't really relinquish it for the rest of the game. They add another try, I think, through Rogers. And then Leinster would kind of get a try, and then Scarlets would get another one, etc. And, by the end, Scarlets, Leinster were poor, honestly. Lots of handling errors, and, the pressure as well as Scarlets defence are putting on them really did tell. But yeah, Scarlets looking really good, and certainly looking, a lot better than last year. And, Dwayne Peel should get a lot of credit for that as well. He really has kind of, transformed his team. Whether they're going to make the playoffs or not too sure about that, but we'll talk about that when we look at the table. But this is certainly, a feather in the cap on this one. Only his second defeat for Leinster this season. And, this Leinster team, I would say, compared to the team that lost to the Bulls, maybe like a little bit, or a few more of the, first team players or close to first team players involved as well. So fair play to Scarlets for that one. Final score, Scarlets 35, Leinster 22. And then the final game of the weekend then, Ulster 19, Hollywood Bets Sharks, 22. So Ulster and again, there's a full review of this on the channel as well if you want to check it out. So Ulster storm into a 19-0 lead by about 30 minutes in the game, 3 tries for them. Then Sharks start kind of just coming back at them, like Jacob Stockdale goes to the bin, and then Mapimpi is over for a try. Or no, Mapimpi went over for the try, and then Stockdale got sent to the bin after that. But it was something that he did in the build-up to Mapimpi's try. Then in the second half, Shituka over for another try. Then 10 minutes ago, Julius over, converted by Hendrickse, and we're at 19 all. Both teams looking to get in position for a possible winning score, and it's the Sharks then who won a penalty, and Hendrickse slots that to give them that 3-point win. Ulster tried in vain, to get a score. They were trying to get in position, couldn't do it though. The handling just wasn't there. I think they knocked on in the end. But yeah, brilliant win for the Sharks. But Ulster, like, blowing that lead, that's kind of what we saw from Ulster earlier on in the season. And we thought they were beginning to turn a corner. But we can see again, talking about Ulster, in recent weeks about a team for next season. I think this is one of the reasons why they're a team for next season and not this season, is that they still haven't got that kind of mental edge. Like, to not score for the last 50 minutes of the game at home, not great from them, but brilliant from the Sharks. So final score, Ulster 19, Hollywood Bets Sharks 22. Okay, so let's have a look at the table and see how all of those results affected it. So top of the table still, Leinster there, 14 wins still after that defeat, and 67 points still, because they didn't pick up any points in that game against the Scarlets. But they have an 8-point lead over Glasgow in second place, and they're pretty much assured now of going to be, the number 1 seeds. If they'd lost and Glasgow had won, might have been a different story, because then, one more slip up and Glasgow probably would pip them to top spot. But I think, Leinster, with 2 games to go, they know they need 2 points basically out of those games, and that will secure tops seeding for them. So, it's going to be a weird one, really, if they don't do that. Glasgow then, as I said, in second place on 59 points, only 1 point now ahead of the Bulls. They're in third on 58. So that win for the Bulls really piling the pressure on Glasgow. And one of the other reasons why I think Leinster are going to secure top spot, because Glasgow now are looking over the shoulders rather than looking up at Leinster. Then you got the Sharks there in fourth place on 53, ready themselves to pounce if either of the 2 teams ahead of them falter in the last 2 rounds, and potentially get themselves, a better seeding, maybe even like an outside bet, I'd say, of a home semi-final for them as well. It would mean both Glasgow and Bulls having, pretty poor final couple of rounds really for them. But I would say, looking at that, to 1 to 4 there, those are the 4 teams at this stage, I'd say almost nailed on now to be the home sides in the quarterfinals. It's just really, what order they're going to be in is going to be settled in, especially second and third now, over the last 2 rounds of the competition. Fifth place then, Cardiff, that fantastic win against Munster, really, boosting their chances on 46 points there of making the knockout stages. And I would say at this stage, like, one more win and they're there. If they get to 50, 51 points, that's obviously going to be enough to get them there, because if you look at the Munster there in 9th place on 41, the most they can get is 51 with two bonus point wins. So, you would expect Cardiff with a win, or even not even a bonus point win, maybe if they get to 50 points, it's probably going to be enough to get through there. But obviously they'll be wanting, first of all, trying to win both of their final games. But when we look at their opponents, maybe that's not going to be possible. But certainly, if they can get a win now in those last two, they should make it. And depending on how the results go as well, it could be a case of losing bonus points and try bonus points being enough to get through. It's very possible that a team is going to qualify maybe 48, 49 points. We don't know really at this stage. I think after round 17, we'll obviously, it'll be a lot clearer. But then in 6th place then, DHL Stormers on 45. Another team pretty much one win away from qualifying. Then the teams who are in a little bit more jeopardy, 7th place Scarlets on 43, fantastic win against Leinster, but now they've got to go and back that up and actually qualify for the knockout stages. So again, I think for them, one win may not be enough, because depending on what other teams do, if a couple of teams below them come out with 2 wins, they're going to find themselves maybe in 9th or 10th place come the final reckoning. Then Benetton there in 8th place on 41. So a bit of a chastening experience for them at the weekend, getting just the 5 points against the Stormers, and not 5 match points, unfortunately for them. So they're the team with that target on their back at the minute. So they've got to rediscover form now, and again, probably looking to get, a win, certainly a win, and then, some form of losing bonus points or whatever to give themselves a chance to qualify. But given how close everything is, you could see teams, in their position needing maybe 2 wins to qualify. Next, Munster in 9th place, very similar position for them as well. If they'd won against Cardiff, it would have been very different. Again, just looking for 1 win, but being a team outside of the playoffs now, they have to produce, probably a couple of wins, honestly, to make the playoffs. But again, if they win next time out and everything shifts in the table again, it might be a different story. Then Edinburgh in 10th on 39 points. So last year I think they were in 7th or 8th going into the final round against Benetton, and they kind of blew it really, like Benetton hockeyed them, and they missed out. And at this stage, gonna have to go some of the last 2 rounds to qualify there. Same with Ospreys down in 11th. But Ospreys last year, 2% chance with 2 games to go, and they did it. So, if they're looking for inspiration, just look at themselves from last year. Ulster then in 12th, also on 38. But, I'm not sure this Ulster side again can produce back-to-back really good wins to get themselves in contention. So themselves and Ospreys really, I'd say, the outsiders for qualification. Then after that, then Lions, mathematically, like Lions and Connacht, both there 13th and 14th on 35 points. They can make the playoffs. I don't think either of them are going to make it, honestly. I think, the cutoff there at the minute is Ulster, unless, again, the next round completely shifts things again. But even a bonus point win for either of them, and they're still going to be outside, even as it is now, the table as it is, they'd still be outside the playoff places in 10th. And then, no, that's not accounting for points that other teams are going to pick up. So, yeah, I don't think either of those teams are going to make the playoffs. And then Zebre, the first team really that mathematically can't make the playoffs at this stage. But fantastic season for them. And they're going to want to finish on a high as well. So, and they're not like in previous years, teams would have looked at Zebre and thought, oh, that's a gimme win or a gimme 5 points. Not anymore. People would be, it'd be worried about having to play them because Zebre will want to finish their season, and maybe get to 6 wins out of it. That would be fantastic result. Already, amazing from them. But, they're a team that are ambitious and they want more. So, they're going to be the kind of the banana skin for other teams in contention, I think, for the playoffs. And then finally, 16th place, we have the Dragons there on 9 points, not really in contention. And you'd say that for most of their performances this year as well. In most of the games, not really in contention. So they've definitely got to do better for next season. But, again, 2 games left. They've only won 1 this season. If they could get that win, it'd be fantastic for them for building for next year, and also a bit of a disaster for the team that they beat as well, because that might have been one of the ones where that team was going, oh yeah, that should be 4 or 5 points for us. But yeah, we've got 2 games to go. We're obviously switching to Champions Cup now for the semi-finals. But when we come back for URC for the previews, what I'm going to do is I'll do the regular preview that we normally do, obviously, of the games, etc. But I'm also going to do, probably, if I have time at least, a special video that kind of looks at the teams that are in contention for those playoff spots. So really from, Cardiff down to Ulster, and just look at what fixtures each of those teams have in the last 2 rounds, and talk about, likelihood based on the fixtures that they have of teams actually making the playoffs. Because I think that would be something interesting to go into and kind of explore together as well. But as I said, Champions Cup coming up at the weekend. So tomorrow we're going to have a preview of the Champions Cup semi-finals, and also a separate preview of the Challenge Cup semi-finals as well. And then for the for each of the games as well, we're going to have reviews over the weekend. And then if I have time, I might. Again, it depends if I have time because it's a busy week in work. But if I have time, I might do previews of the individual semi-finals when the teams come out as well. So we'll have to see if that happens or not. Not promising on those, but we definitely will be previewing the rounds themselves, and then reviewing each of the games. So all 4 games will be reviewed on the channel, and then we'll have a wrap up then, probably on Monday or Tuesday next week as well. So lots of exciting rugby the weekend gone, and lots of exciting rugby to come this weekend as well. So hope you guys are enjoying it, no matter who you support. Hopefully your team can give you something to smile about in the last few weeks of the season.